talking about colors, there are first the primary colors, the red, the yellow, and the blue. These colors are the absolute base. They cannot be made from the mix from other colors, but they can make a variety of other colors. Then come the secondary colors. The colors mixed by two primary colors. In mixing, always start with the lighter color. To make orange, we start with yellow, the lighter color, add a little red, and we'll have orange. To make purple, we start with a lot of red and a flick of blue. And then there'll be purple. Do the same to make green. Start with yellow and blue. These are the secondary colors, purple, orange, and green. After the secondary colors, there are the tertiary colors, created by the mixture of a primary color and a secondary color. This is called a color wheel. On a color wheel, the tertiary color is situated between a primary and secondary color. Depending on its position, they are called red-orange, yellow-orange, yellow-green, blue-green, red-purple, and blue-purple. Complementary colors are the colors that are direct opposite of each other in the color wheel. There is green and red, blue and orange, purple and yellow, and many more. If the complementary colors are mixed together, the color will become duller. Warm colors are from red to lime green.
The cool colors are from green to purplish red.
In a color wheel, we can also identify analogous colors. They are a range of colors that are beside each other, such as colors from yellow to bluish green. Split complementary colors are three colors where one color and two other colors are on either side of its complement. For example, the split complementary colors with red is bluish green and lime green. The split complementary colors combinations will form isosceles triangles. Now let's experiment with the complementary colors. When complementary colors are mixed together, the saturation of the color will decrease, making it duller. Let's try orange with blue. And you can see it becomes duller. Here are white and black, and we will make gray. Always start with the lighter color first, white and a little black, and there's gray. These are the neutral colors, white, black, and gray. We can use these colors to create the tints, shades, and tones. Using red as an example, adding white into it, we are changing the tint of the color red.
Adding gray to red, you'll be changing the tones of the color.
If we add black into red, we'll change the shades of the red. The color red will gradually turn into black. These are similar to value scales, but with color. Moving to low key and high key. A painting can be called high key when it uses many tints and light colors, while being called low key if it uses many shades or dark values. If a painting is called monochromatic, it uses variations of the same color. Take for example red, but with different values, such as these scales. This is the basic tutorial video about color. Thank you for watching.
I chose Japan for my piece because I've always loved the culture, and I see that its culture has also influenced and into my own culture in Vietnam. And I'm also very impressed with the peacefulness in Japanese cultures, though oftentimes they use very expressive and vibrant colors. Aside from the split complementary color scheme, I chose tertiary pink tones for the sakura flowers, the symbol of Japan. And the reason for this choice was because sakura is the symbol of a whole nation, and it wouldn't do it justice if its color were to be changed, even in the slightest bit. Koi fish were actually patterns on a piece of fabric, and I enlarged it and centralized because I love the image of the image of a koi fish. So I tried to make it the focal point in my
The
whole
reason why
piece.
I chose to portray Indian culture in my painting was because I was drawn by the very bold and vibrant colors. I also really wanted to incorporate the beautiful mandala designs in my painting, which originated from Indian culture. As I researched more about Indian culture, I was really fascinated by how beautiful and unique the culture was, and I decided to choose it for my painting. The color scheme that I chose in my painting were the analogous colors orange, red, magenta, and purple. The reason why I chose this color scheme was because I noticed that the colors pink, red, and orange kept reappearing in Indian culture. Using these colors as a guideline, I was able to find this analogous color scheme on the color wheel, which was a perfect match to the colors pink, orange, and red. The areas where I applied this color scheme was in the background, mandala, lotus petals, elephants, and the lips of the face. For my composition, I decided to follow the rule of thirds. Instead of placing all my objects in the center, using the rule of thirds, I decided to place my objects relatively close to the lines and the intersecting lines. This explains why my main objects were more off to the sides of the painting rather than in the middle. Since the left side of the painting was completely covered with the face and the mandala, I decided to balance the right side by creating more open space. I did this by showing the orange background through the lotus flowers, which was able to open up the painting. Also, I was able to bring balance to the painting by evenly distributing the colors I used in the painting. For example, I used the same orange from the background and incorporated it into my mandala design. By doing so, this was able to create some balance in the painting. My focal point was the face and the mandala, which were merged together to become an object. This is the focal point of my painting because it is the largest object in the painting, making it stand out. The movement starts from the focal point and moves out towards the lotus flowers in a semicircle motion. The reason why the movement of the painting is like that is because of the mandala's shape. The fact that the mandala is part of a circle shape makes the eyes move in the movement of the mandala.
The color scheme I chose for my painting was secondary colors, which is orange, green, and purple. What I was focusing on for the first part of my painting were the secondary colors and the background, which I painted. Then afterwards, I painted the wooden furniture with dark brown to complement the green grass, since they're both colors of nature. The reason why I painted the Mona Lisa with a tint of green was because I wanted to keep the color harmony. Same with the utensils. The reason why I didn't paint it as gray was because I didn't want any part of my painting to be insaturated, giving off a dull look, because that wouldn't be representative to Italy, the culture or country that I chose. How I painted the sunset was by slowly mixing a dark shade of red with orange with every few strokes to the canvas, giving the sunset a gradient of dark to light value. Let's talk about composition. The reason why I put the Mona Lisa and the Pope where they are is because I wanted the painting to be symmetrical, which means if I cut the painting in half, both sides of the painting would look similar. The focal point of the painting is the Colosseum, which I painted purple, since it's the center of the painting. The composition of the Pope, Mona Lisa, and Colosseum also gives off a shape of a cross, which is appropriate for Italy considering that's where the Pope lives.
Today, I will be showing you how to mix colors. So here you see blue, yellow, and red. These are called primary colors because no colors can be mixed together to create these colors. Though these colors can't be created, they are mixed together to create secondary colors. Here you can see red and yellow mixing, which creates orange. Then yellow and blue creates green. Lastly, blue and red creates purple. Next, I will explain the tertiary colors. Tertiary colors are also called intermediate colors. They are basically colors that are mixed from primary and secondary. For example, yellow and green are mixed together to create yellow-green. And then green and blue are mixed together to make a green-blue color. This pattern continues. Orange and yellow are mixed together to make orange-yellow. Orange with red are mixed together to make an orange-red color, and purple and red are mixed together to make a purple-red color. Finally, purple and blue are mixed together to make a purple-blue color. Next, complementary colors are the colors opposite of each other on the color wheel. For example, red and green are complementary colors. We use complementary colors to show the contrast, but also to darken a color. Now we'll talk about analogous colors. Analogous colors are colors that are right next to each other. So here, for example, these colors are analogous colors, and these colors, purple, blue, green, are right next to each other, so they are analogous. Split complementary colors are colors that form a triangle. So for example, here we can see blue, orange, yellow. These are colors that form a triangle, therefore they are called split complementary colors. The main neutral colors are black and white. When you mix these two colors together, you create gray. When you add white to a color, it creates different value of that color. So here we are using red and we are adding white to it. Just remember that we always use the lighter color and then add the darker color on top. So as we create more values, we can see that it's getting darker. And for black, when we add black to a color, it creates more tone for that color. So we're also using red, and you can see that as we add black, it becomes darker.
The culture that I chose to incorporate in my painting is Korean culture. Even though I'm Korean myself, I've always been fascinated in Korean culture due to its colorful and uniqueness in food, clothes, music, and such. In this painting, I try to mimic the experiences I was able to have in Korean traditional festivals and use different techniques and colors to do so. I use primary colors as my color scheme. Primary colors red, blue, and yellow are very common to spot in Korean culture. Korea's flag has both colors red and blue. Korea's well-known dish kimchi is red. And Korean traditional clothes are usually very colorful and most of the times contain all three primary colors. As you can see, the drum is drawn much bigger than any of the objects on the left. I drew the drums much bigger in order to create balance, as there are many objects on the left side of the drawing, whereas there is only the drum on the right. And because I was only using a brush, there wasn't much texture in the painting. So I added in some texture in the drum using paint knife and also rollers. In the left side of the drawing, the fan in the background does not have a bold shape nor a definite color. I used lots of water and little paint, so when the fan was added in, the painting didn't look so messy and unorganized due to overlapping with hard or concrete shapes. Finally, instead of putting any object in the middle, I used a rule of thirds when drawing in the lamp.
I was inspired by Van Gogh's The Starry Night and Picasso's The Old Guitarist. Two artists use this monochrome of blue to express the sadness. Like the two artists, I tried to use blue mainly and add some other colors to show identity clearly. For example, for boats, I mainly color with blue and add yellow, which represents Sailor Fairy, ribbon color, to the line of the boat to highlight that this artwork is cherishing Sailor Fairy. The candles, which is placed on the left bottom side of the artwork, is significant in Korea since it is used to both cherish and protest. For cherishing, it was used for Sailor Fairy, same as those paper boats on the left top corner of the canvas. And for protesting, to make the last present image, a lot of people from all over the country gathered and showed the power of Koreans. And emphasizing using different colors such as yellow, which also emphasized the mood of the artwork, which is sadness towards Sewa Ferry. However, next time I would like to try other color schemes.
The culture I chose is Taiwan. First reason is because I'm Taiwanese, and the second reason is because I actually think that Taiwan is a really interesting culture that I never really looked into, so I want to use this unit to have the chance to dig into my own culture a little more. And the main color scheme that I chose is actually Analogous Warm Colors. And since the color palette I use is magenta, cyan, and yellow, I actually mix all the colors from these three, so it appears to be a more orangish color and a reddish color. And the reason why I chose warm colors is because warm color is has a very special meaning to cultures, Chinese culture especially, because warm colors, especially red, means happy events such as New Year, wedding, all that stuff. So it's a really welcoming color, really warm, since it's called warm colors, and it's just a really happy thing going on. And basically, I want to give out the idea that it portrays how the culture in Taiwan is really like happy, freestyle, and all of that. And the people there is also really warm and welcoming. People who have traveled to Taiwan would probably know. Of course, it's not all, but and the reason why I added green is because in Taiwan, it's basically built upon nature. Since in the middle of Taiwan, there's a really big mountain area, and all the food and supplies basically comes from nature. In the old times, so like I just want to say like nature is really important.
This tutorial is about how to mix acrylics, primary, secondary, and tertiary, and how you can create gray screens with. To start with, we have three primary colors, which are yellow, red, and blue. They are called primary colors because no other colors can be mixed to create them. Secondary colors are basically forms of primary colors. There are three secondary colors. First is orange, which is form of the primary colors red and orange. Then is green, created by mixing blue and yellow together. Purple, which is formed by red and blue. Keep in mind that we have to mix the lighter color first, then add a small amount of darker color to it. Moving on to tertiary colors, which are formed using a primary color and a secondary color. By adding red to the orange, we can create an even darker orange, and by adding yellow to the orange, we can create a lighter version of it. Same as for green, it can become darker if we add more blue to it and lighter if yellow is added. For purple, by adding red, we can see that the color has not only gone lighter, but also turning into a red purple. And of course, by adding blue to purple, we can create a darker purple, depends on the amount of blue added to it. Complementary colors are the colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel. There are three pairs of complementary colors: purple and yellow, red and green, blue and orange. For the tint and tones, as you can see, we will use red as an example. If white is added to red, the color will turn pink and even lighter pink if we keep adding more white to it. These light pink colors are called higher value. By adding black to the original red, we can see that it turns darker as we add black to it. These dark red colors are called lower keys.
Over the last few weeks, the class of Foundation 1 has been working very hard on the concept of color schemes using the color wheel. To adapt our new knowledge, our most recent unit was picking out a culture that was interesting or as we viewed as unique. Traditional objects, colors, animals, food, and so much more were painted on our canvases from all over the world. The process was quite simple, however, was very time consuming as seen on this slide with all of my progression photos.
For composition-wise, I wanted the focal point to be something quite important to the culture, so I decided to do the national animal of the United States, which is the bald eagle. With the background being a common landscape in northeastern America, the background really made the eagle itself be more or less the main focal point. To make it more realistic, I tried to base the animal off of a real photo. However, it did not look relatively close to the photo. Below the eagle is the dream catcher. The dream catcher is a very important part of the Native American culture. I used a sponge to create more of a fluffy look to it. For the hills, I used the rough part of the knife to create a more textured and more realistic way of seeing the landscape as a whole. For as long as it took, I was quite satisfied with how it looked, for it was quite realistic, which was what I was aiming for. I added the complementary color of green on the hills, which in case you don't know is red, to show more tonal changes to make it look more realistic. For the water, I used a paintbrush with tints and tones incorporated in the colors to make it softer and less choppy as the knife would do and less fluffy like the sponge does.
The objects and the landscape I chose demonstrates the theme of the present being the result of a gruesome past. The opening in the clouds that light shines through shows the last drops of hope. I personally chose neutral colors like brown, black, and gray that contrast with the monochromatic tints of magenta that highlights the objects in the painting. I really enjoyed creating the painting, and it was the first time I tried to paint with acrylic on canvas and on a canvas. And I look forward to continuing to create future paintings like this.
As some of you can already guess, the culture I specifically chosen for my painting was Japan. Japan means a lot to me. Back in my childhood days, many of the stuff I read and watched for fun were Japanese comics and animations. I also visited Japan at the beginning of August last year, and the trip was amazing. The people were really nice and the food was delicious. Now onto the analysis of my painting. There are a few prominent color schemes present in my painting: monochromatic, analogous, and complementary. I chose monochromatic for the food and moon rising section in my bento box because I feel that using this particular color scheme will really bring out the details and colors through my perception of these aspects. For analogous, I chose it because I don't want the other sections of the bento box to become dull, since if I only use the same color scheme throughout, it will turn quite ordinary and boring, as well as the color won't match what I drew inside it. My unintentional use of these two color schemes together have made the four sections in my bento box similar to the color wheel, from shades of red to yellow, orange in the food section, then yellow to blue, green for the floating cat box, mainly blue for the bridge box, and finally blue-violet back to red for the last box. The major movement in my painting is following all the objects I put on the outside of the bento box. On the left side, following the chopsticks pointed upwards to the sakura blossoms, whereas for the right side, following the omamori or Japanese charm pointed upwards to the bowl of miso soup on the top right corner. In the balance aspect, there's a contrast between the green of the background and the pink of the bento, to further make the sceneries in the bento stand out. I chose pink as the dominant color in my artwork because it's a lighter tint of red, which is a commonly used as well as meaningful color in Japan. Many Japanese cultures aspects, such as the Japanese flag, a white banner with a red circle in the middle to represent the sun, or some temples are expressed through the color red. On the other hand, the color pink can be seen through the sakura blossoms.
Okay, so color theory, the primary colors. The primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. Now secondary colors come from the three primary colors. So now if we mix yellow with red, as you can see, we get orange. Then, if we are to mix yellow and blue, Obviously with another brush we get green as another secondary color, and if we mix blue and red together, some more blue, then we will get purple. So now for tertiary colors are primary colors and secondary colors that are mixed. So now we're taking the orange and we take the red and we get some red orange. Now we can take the orange again and take the yellow in just a second, and we can get an orange yellow color. And then we can take, after that, the green and the yellow, and we get a greenish yellow. So that are some of the tertiary colors that we can make by mixing primary and secondary colors. Now we can take some of the purple and mix it with some of the blue, and we get purple blue. Then we take some more of the purple and we can take some red and get another tertiary color, our fifth tertiary color, which is red, or violet red, or red violet. And then we can take purple again and mix it with blue and get a blue violet color. So those are 6 tertiary colors. Now complementary colors are the colors that are across from each other directly on the color wheel. So some of the complementary colors would include red, green. Okay, now for the tints and tones. The neutral colors for tints and tones are black, gray, and white. So now when we take this white color and take the red, when we add just a little bit of red, we'll add a little bit of red to the first sample and get a very light red. Now from that sample, we use some of that color, and if we keep on adding some more red, we'll add some more red to the second sample, we get an even darker red. And if we take some of that darker red and continue to add more red, we eventually end up with the original color, which is red. So, see, it will eventually end up as red, the one we have on the top. Now we have 2 more colors to demonstrate this with. That is yellow and black. So we take some yellow, the lighter color first, and then we mix with the darker color, which is black. Now we have a much darker yellow. Now we take that same yellow and mix it with even more black. It's almost starting to look like black now, but it's not quite black. So as we keep on mixing the colors, the previous colors, with the darker color, it will eventually become the darker color in the end. Thank you for watching. The end.
I had a tetradic color scheme of purple, green, and orange. I originally thought I was doing a split complementary color scheme. However, I looked back at the color wheel and realized that what I was doing was a tetradic color scheme. I chose a specific color scheme because I wanted the background purple to contrast with the yellow. Next, I used the rule of thirds. So I'm just drawing an imaginary rule of thirds to help me with the composition of the mask, and because if I put the mask right in the middle, it doesn't have it's not interesting and it doesn't have meaning to it. In conclusion, I chose the South African culture because it was something that really intrigued me, and I was very proud of the teeth necklace because it looked the most realistic out of my whole painting, and it was something that really challenged me. I also had really good time management, so that was something that was what I was proud of. If I were to do this again, though, I would definitely have to change my design and color choices. I feel like the design is too simple here, and as if there's something missing, and I want my patterns to be more sophisticated and there to be more details. So that is all. Thank you for listening to my analysis.
In Art 1 Foundations, our art class has recently been studying color theory. Our latest assignment was to produce a painting about a culture using what we learned on color theory. I chose to paint about Japanese culture and its symbols. I chose Japanese culture because, although I have not experienced it, I know it is a very interesting and rich culture from what I have seen on television and in the media. All of the things that I included in my painting tie back to what I think Japan is known for and what I personally think represents Japan. In Japan, the geisha is a traditional female entertainer. Their history goes back several centuries, and it is one of the oldest professions in Japan. Geishas are often the face and most common representation of Japanese people. Although they have a very minor role in modern society, geishas are an extremely popular cultural icon, so of course I included one in the painting. I chose to include this mountain in the painting, and it's actually supposed to be Mount Fuji. For a very long time, Mount Fuji has been a popular cultural icon. It is a symbol of beauty because of its symmetry. Mount Fuji is the single most popular tourist destination in Japan for both Japanese people and foreigners. This Japanese sword here is called a katana, and it cuts across the page, and it represents honor. Katanas were used in the past by samurai. Honor was one of the founding principles in Bushido, the traditional Japanese philosophical way of life. The cherry blossoms and trees represent spring and beauty. The cherry blossoms are stunningly beautiful, yet they only bloom a short time a year. Long since has the cherry blossoms become a cultural icon. In this painting, I also included a torii, which is a Japanese gate, and it has strong ties to religion. The gates can only be found at a Shinto shrine, and its purpose is to be the bridge between our world and the spirit world, and anything beyond the gate is considered sacred ground. The purpose of the sword, to divide the painting, is to divide it by terrestrial and celestial figures. And so the bottom half of the painting is supposed to represent terrestrial things or things that are related to life and earth. And the top half of the painting has subjects and objects that are related to celestial objects or things that are in the sky. So I mostly included primary colors in my painting, with the exception of pink, white, and black. Although while painting, I considered the pink as the lighter shade of red. The reason I use pink in my painting is because it is a mix of red and white, which are the colors of the Japanese flags, and because pink is the color of cherry blossoms. Red and white aren't technically colors outside of the color harmony that I've used, so I think pink is okay.
The theme of my work is Russian culture. I chose this culture because, as the person from Russia, it was interesting for me to do the research about my home culture, to find some details about it that I used in my work. What is more, I haven't lived a lot in Russia, so this project was the excellent opportunity for me to learn new things about Russian culture, traditions, and even history. I think that it's well known that the major color in Russian culture is red. It's interesting, but in Russian language the word beautiful means red as well. Additionally, in Moscow, the area where Kremlin stands is called Red Square. With this in mind, we can see that the red color plays a big role in Russian language, architecture, and culture, and that's the reason why I chose the warm color scheme in my work. In my work, I decided not to use only the red color, but the warm colors such as you may notice, these colors are not that strong a value as my reddish colors. I did it because if these colors would be too strong, then the painting itself will be too busy. I didn't want that, and therefore I added into each color section a little bit of water so that they're not that strong in the value. The first thing that I'm proud of in my work is the composition. I really like the way how I put all of the shapes in the painting. The reason why I like the arrangement is because there is some nice free space, but not a lot of it, which makes the painting not busy and moreover nicely presented. The second thing that I'm proud of is the cultural objects that I chose. The shapes of ballerina, guitar, building are unusual and unique, which makes the painting in general interesting. I chose exactly these icons because I wanted to show all of the aspects of the culture itself. Ballerina is the dancing, guitar is music, Kremlin is the architecture. The girl is the traditional dress. From here we can see that all things of the culture I considered in my project. The last thing that I'm proud of is the time management. I was meeting deadlines and were able to finish by the due date.